To start this video off, I will be giving a bold statement, and it's going to be a short one as well. Kaguya Sama is the best rom-com to be created. It's a strong statement to start off the video, but in all honesty, it doesn't just deserve it, it owns it easily. We have had way too many rom-coms with the usual shenanigans of the main characters not getting together after 50 seasons, or with shows stretching it out to the point where the main characters probably should have grandkids, and as a result, the genre as of late has felt stagnant. Enter Kaguya Sama. While Kaguya Sama has had similar tropes and also a situation where the main characters don't confess until a certain point, there's a key difference between those shows, the generic ones, versus Kaguya Sama, and it's why the main characters don't confess. The relationship between Kaguya and Shirogane isn't as simple as they are just oblivious to their own feelings or even the other person's feelings, as it's actually a lot more complex than that. If it were the case where it was just oblivious behavior, then there would be growing frustration in the fan base with each interaction, every episode, every chapter in the manga that would pass between the two. But Kaguya-sama isn't anything like that. Their characters are not blind, but instead, it's their personalities, their reasons why they are blind, quote unquote, and that big reason is their pride. Let's look at Kaguya first and foremost. Kaguya is for a lack of a better way of saying it, a girl that is effectively descendant from business royalty and is a genius to many in the school. She is sheltered, and due to her intelligence and family name, she sees herself as being far superior compared to her fellow students. But then comes along new student council president Miyuki Shirogane, and what do you expect? She falls in love. However, due to her sheltered lifestyle and her inability to comprehend what this new feeling is, she is unable to make heads or tails until 6 months later when she does realize her feelings. But now, she cannot confess because pride is on the line. A girl of her status confessing? No way. So she manipulates and uses her calculative mind to try and force Miyuki to confess first instead. But as time goes on, her love for Miyuki grows stronger, and each trick becomes weaker and weaker due to that reason. Her love overtakes her pride at a certain point, and as a result, she can't pull these tricks anymore and uses her money, or Hayasaka, to pull her out of those tricky situations, as shown in season 3 commonly. Miyuki, on the other hand, is the complete opposite, coming from a lower class family, not as talented, and only reaching this position of student council president as well as top student due to hard work, and then he falls in love with Kaguya. But he as well has a hubris of pride and will not confess to a girl who is at the top and will not fall that low to confess himself. So he uses his mind to make her confess and prove that talent and status isn't stopping him from achieving his goals and doesn't stop him from being the bigger man in this situation. The beautiful thing about Kaguya-sama, in my opinion as well, is how well the side characters are made to support the main protagonists and help them grow and develop as well, with characters like Ishigami acting as a great emotional support system for Shirogane and bringing along with him some great subplot that was built up in season 2 and carried forward in season 3 with his growing relationship with Tsubame. Chika is also there providing the usual comic relief and is a chaos bringer in the show, which in certain situations actually is required for these characters to move on, otherwise it becomes too serious and sometimes it could lead to situations that could in fact deteriorate the relationship. And then on the other hand, you also have the recent introduction of Miko in season 2, which she still has to get that amazing development, in all honesty, compared to these other characters, including a fourth character that I haven't mentioned yet. But I think, with time and of course having read the manga myself, I think she will, I know she does get that amazing development. And with that confirmed season 4 right around the corner, well, I say right around the corner, it probably is next year, I'm very much looking forward to seeing how well the anime and adapts Miko's development and how well they handle it for sure. I also have to give a bit of a shout out to Maki Shoujo, who also adds in a great dynamic of seeing somebody who's actually related to Kaguya and how things actually are in the Shinomiya family. And speaking of the Shinomiya family, let's talk about my fourth character that I have to give a special shout out to and a sort of side paragraph to basically in this situation, and that is of course Hayasaka. She was featured a lot more in this season, and I think she plays a great role in being the support system to Kaguya, similar to that of Ishigami's support role to Shirogane, but even more more so, it's a lot deeper here, considering what Hayasaka has had to go through, being the support system and basically raising and taking care of Kaguya, being the maid of the Shinomiya family, even though they are basically the same age. And I think that was extremely well addressed this season, with certain episodes dedicated to Hayasaka's feelings and her emotions. Once again, I think there's still a long way to go, and I do believe we will see more. I say I do believe we will see more once the Shinomiya family is shown in full flesh, especially now that both Kaguya and Shirogane have officially confessed to one another. And there it is, the big mic drop of the season, the big lead up, the culmination of 37 episodes, and we are finally here. The culmination of nearly 1,100 hours of storytelling and character development, and it was all worth it. I did not want to make this review just about season 3, as I feel Kaguya Sama is much more than its individual seasons. From the very beginning, Kaguya Sama has been delivering an outstanding and really enjoyable tale of two great characters trying to make each other confess, and it's this season where the story reaches its peak. All the build up for the last 2 seasons made every moment of this show more enjoyable. You are itching to know what happens next this season, what they will do next, and like I said, this season was completely focused in on Shinomiya and Shirogane. Although Ishigami and Ino and Chika and Tsubame, even Maki had their fair share of great moments. Hayasaka obviously was, in my opinion, the third most important character in this arc, in all honesty, right? And they all aided towards that finale that we got a couple of days ago. And this ending to the story would have been phenomenal. Of course, we know that there is an upcoming season right around the corner, like I say, probably a year from now, but this is what we've been waiting for, the confession, and we finally got it. And was it a sight to behold? Was it a sight to behold? Now we'll switch gears here a little bit, because I've heaped a lot of praise onto the story and why I believe Kaguya Sama is so phenomenal. It's because of the characters and the reasoning behind why these characters have made this story so good. But I'll talk a little bit about the other parts of the anime, some from old seasons, adding into this latest season, as well as just, talking about some stuff that I found a little interesting compared to the manga. So let's start off with the sound, and I have to admit, fantastic direction work here, in all honesty. I don't think the sound has ever felt off. They've used some generic anime sounds or anime rom-com sounds, as well as some usual horror attractions and stuff like that, but it's all well used really correctly and really smartly. I don't think really correctly is the right way of saying it, but they've used it correctly and really smartly is the best way to say it, and they never disappointed at any time. The OST once again has Masayuki Suzuki doing it, and the song is as top-notch as ever. It may have not been as good as Daddy Daddy Do. I think a lot of people felt that way. I think Giri Giri is still really, really good. And I think I said OST instead of OP. I meant OP. But the OP was phenomenal. Not as good as Daddy Daddy Do. I think Daddy Daddy Do was one of its kind in season 2. I think it was brilliant. This one is good, but following up on Daddy Daddy Do was going to be an impossible task. That was the song of the year, in all honesty, from last year, hands down, so it was difficult anyways. On the other hand, we have Airi Suzuki singing the Iri song, and of course the song has a really nice touch where it's kind of being a little bit parallel to the first season's ending, which is really cool. Of course, it follows Shirogane saving Kaguya, and I think it was a great way of linking the first ending and this ending really well, and very neatly as well, in my opinion. The writing in Kaguya Sama remains also one of the sharpest in television, or anime I should say. They balance the humor and the hysterical scenarios really, really well. And while some people may say the jokes are a little bit too repetitive, some stuff like, say for example, the whole Chika learning, teaching Shirogane how to do something, I feel like they change it up ever so slightly every time, and it's never really fully predictable. Of course, the overarching part of it is predictable, arguably, right? But, for example, the rap episode where we saw that even Chika doesn't know how to rap, so she's learning how to rap, and then she teaches Shirogane also how to rap, right? It's really well done, and it also helps that these cast of characters are so lovable, so easily connectable, I suppose is the best way to put it. And that even if you place these characters in any situation, they will go in perfectly because of the way the direction is done. And it works so well, in my opinion, because you've got a good cast of characters and a good set of situations and scenarios. And when you put them together, you get some really good comedy. And I think that's what works extremely well. This is partially, I would say, hats off to the author for getting these sort of jokes out there with these cast of characters, but I'd also give a shout out to the director. Few modern anime directors bring as much creative inspiration as Shinichi Omada, because the thing is, you have to remember, you have panels only to work with when it comes to the manga. You have to, blow them up into much bigger set pieces, even, I should say, memorable frames. You have to have some good editing. You have to have some great imagery. It's all of that, and he does a great job here, and it makes it a fantastic anime production. This is definitely also a passion project made with a lot of love as well. The animation is vibrant and always adds to the comedy, like I said earlier on. And on top of that, one big shout out I have to give to this season, which I wanted to talk about in my mid-season review, was them bringing on a young animator, an 18-year-old by the name of Ver Creek, to do the key animation for the insert ending in episode 5, My Nonfiction, was outstanding. A big shout out to A1 Pictures for hiring him, or the director for suggesting his name, whoever it may have been. I don't know how he managed to get the role, but however he did, big ups to him, because this was unbelievable, and it's so good to see, people of talent getting the opportunity to showcase their talent, and that was amazing. That was honestly great. Now, the only gripe I would have, and this is in relation to the manga, is the confession. And I know people must be like, what are you on about, Gail? You literally, you gave a lot of love to the ending. What are you talking about here? My only gripe, and it's not even a major gripe, because I understand why they did it, and I understand why the director did what they did. At the end, in the confession scene, we saw that they were bouncing around in many perspectives, right? We saw them going from Kaguya and Miyuki to Ishigami and Miko, and then you had Chika as well, and it was a little bit all over the place, right? It felt that way. To a lot of people, it definitely felt that way. And I also felt that way because in the manga, it was very much a focus on the confession. I do think it works better in the anime doing it the way they did, where they jumped around perspectives, because it builds suspense, right? And I understand why they did it for that reason in particular. However, I still do believe it would have been just better doing it the manga way, the intended way. However, I cannot fault them for doing something a little bit different, especially for the anime onlys, because it would have just added to that build-up. Still think it's a great confession, and I nearly teared up at that, I'm not gonna lie, but it was only a small gripe I had, just a teeny tiny bit is what I would say. Because in all honesty, to wrap this up, Kaguya Sama has been a work of pure love, and it always has been it has always been made with great passion. I love works of art like this show that doesn't rely on flashiness or fight scenes or drama or anything of that sort, because it's never done that. It has never tried to achieve that being its main goal. I feel like in so many rom-coms as well, they do end up having a little bit of drama for no reason whatsoever, and it just ends up being a bit problematic. This feels like a genuinely decent romance tale that keeps me engaged, keeps me happy, keeps me uplifted. Of course, there are moments where topics do get serious, right? Especially the moments between Kaguya and Hayasaka, Shirogane with his father, talking about Stanford and stuff, right? And there are moments like that, and there will be moments from here on out as well where things will get a little bit serious, especially once the Shinomiya family comes into picture, right? But I don't think that changes the fact that in general, there has been no real sort of like unforced drama or unnecessary forced drama, I should say. There's been no forced drama. There's been no unnecessary sort of fights and arguments between characters at all. It always was a really enjoyable watch. Every episode, I never felt sad or I never felt disappointed by something or the way they went through it. I always smiled throughout the show, and of course understood moments when things got serious as well. And it always made my day to watch this show, and for that reason alone, I want to say, if I had to recommend any anime, I would always say, if you're into action, of course you can go look at your various shonens, the likes of Dragon Ball, Naruto, Bleach, and stuff like that. But if I were to talk to like any person who's more interested in your down-to-earth, your rom-coms, your slice of lives, whatever it may be, I think this is the show that I would recommend. Be it an anime fan or a non-anime fan or somebody who's never watched anime before, Kaguya Sama will always be my go-to recommendation from here on out.